My life story starts at I was born in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and I was born into a loving family, and I was encouraged to do sports and to get into like extracurricular activities, and I would say that I was like a happy kid. I would try to fit in with a lot of different friend groups, and again, like I was liked by pretty much everybody, but I really couldn't like find my place in those friend groups in the beginning. Before I ever even drank or used drugs, I was in a really abusive relationship, and that kind of drove me to be a suicidal person at the time because of the trauma that was going on in there, and I wasn't telling anybody about it. Like, nobody knew about it, and I was super miserable already at age 13 and like didn't want to live anymore. So the first time that I ever drank, I was at my friend's house. Their parents like they didn't care, like they let us just drink there, and so even like with my first experience drinking alcohol, it was already different than from normal people, so I ended up getting like blackout wasted, and I threw up everywhere, and I had made some really bad decisions that night, and I woke up the next morning and my friends were like what's up? And I was like, oh, that was great, that was super cool, and I finally felt like I fit in. I felt like I could talk to people, I felt like I could look them in the eye, I felt like there was like a void that was filled, like not even just filled, but like overfilled, and I felt amazing and on top of the world. And then it progressed from there on out, and during that time I was still doing okay in school, and I was still in sports. I was playing on the varsity basketball team my sophomore year of high school. I tried to maintain this external view that like my life was okay, and as long as like everybody else around me thought it was okay, then I was fine. So it's like I really wasn't even living for myself for a really long time, and it wasn't until I would have a substance in me that I finally felt okay and like comfortable within my skin. So I kept doing that, and I kept trying to like get my grades higher and trying to graduate high school and all that stuff, and that's kind of like around the age of like 14 and 15 is when it started to go downhill. And I didn't realize it at the time. I just liked how I felt, and I liked how I felt, and then I liked how I felt on that drug and this drug and that drug, and then it just kept going from there. So I got in a little bit of like legal issues over the summer going into my sophomore year, and so I was put on supervision as a juvenile, and I had a caseworker that I of course hated because I just hated the world at that time, but he ended up putting me in jail, and I was really upset about that, and that scared me. I was really scared, and I ended up getting into outpatient treatment because of that. So my parents like knew I was smoking, they knew I was drinking, I was taking pills at that time, but I was still again like trying to maintain like my sports, my grades, all of that stuff. And then I got sober for like 90 days when I was probably 16 years old, and during that time I kind of realized like, okay, I kind of want to go to college, and like if it weren't for my parents backing me through all of this, like you need to go to school, you want to have a career, all these things, like I definitely would not be where I am today, like that's for sure. I started drinking, and then I would smoke weed like every single day, and I really didn't take a sober breath once I started to smoke weed. And so that was like before school, during lunch, after school, all day, every day I had to be high throughout the day. And then I actually got a new boyfriend at the time who introduced me to pills. I was hanging out with people that were older than me, and it was around. So I was like, all right, let's try it, you know, like, and then I started to use prescription medications. So Xanax came next, and that one I was on for a while. I did some really reckless things on it though, because you're just not aware. I would shoplift a lot on Xanax. I would go in and just do whatever. I just didn't care. That progressed into opiates, and so the same boyfriend, he was the one that was using the opiates, and I was always wanting him to do Xanax. You know, let's do Xanax, and he was like, no, let's do opiates today. Let's do them. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll try them out. Well, ever since that day, I was using. I really became physically dependent after about 2 weeks until major consequences came in. And then from opiates, they ended up getting expensive, and prescription drugs were not the cheapest thing to find, and really just finding them in general was not easy because there was a crackdown on oxys and stuff like that along that period of time, and so they were hard to find. And I mean, really by nature, I ended up kind of like hanging out with different friend groups who did worse than me, because like I eventually like sucked the living life out of everyone that I was around. And so nobody really wanted to hang out with me anymore. Like I got bad, and like even though like my ex was like using those things, like he could stop when he wanted to, and like I didn't understand that. So there was a day where he was like, I don't want to do this today, and I was like, what? Like that didn't make any sense to me. I really didn't realize like that I was an addict or becoming one. I had probably crossed over the threshold long before that, but it was to the point where I'm like, I don't understand why you would not want to do this. And so I ended up finding different people to hang out with that were going to do it every day with me, that could supply it to me, that would, you know, hang out with me or whatever. And that's when I started to get introduced to heroin. But it was within about 5 minutes that I was convinced to do it. And I did it, and I didn't shoot it the first time I snorted it, and I was like, yep, this is even better. This is great. This is cheaper. I can do this every day. This is something that I want to start doing again and more and more and more of. So then eventually I surround myself with IV drug users, and again, kind of just like the nature of the beast, like it just kind of goes down and down and down. I start to surround myself with people that are doing these things. Eventually I'm going to do them too. Because I never thought that I was going to like shoot up drugs or anything like that, and I wasn't raised to do that. I was raised in a Christian household. I was raised with God. I was raised with morals and values and all of these things, but like it didn't matter to me at that point. I definitely looked at other people and I was like, I'm never going to be like them. I'm never going to be that person under a bridge, homeless, not being able to pay rent or afford bills or anything like that. I definitely never wanted to shoot up drugs, that's for sure. And like I would look at those people and be like, you're a junkie. Like that's disgusting. I'm okay though. They're the ones that are messed up. And so a lot of the times that's kind of like how the progression of my friends went too. Like I would become like the worst out of the friend group, so I needed to find another friend group that was worse than me. So I was constantly comparing myself to them. Because really it was just like all to avoid like taking a deep look into myself and where I was at. I was so delusional at that time that there wasn't really any like sane thoughts going through my mind of like, maybe I should stop, or like maybe this isn't a good idea. Like I would like cross over like one moral boundary that I would have, and like then you just use more drugs to fill it, basically. Like, okay, like that probably didn't make me feel very good. Don't really like that about myself, so I'm going to use more so I don't have to feel it. There were a lot of turning points for me, or should have been turning points. I wish that there's like one thing that we could do for everybody that's like, yep, that's going to make them turn around. I think the biggest thing was when I got arrested on UW Oshkosh campus. I was in college. I was doing what I thought that I was supposed to be doing. I was selling drugs at the time, and I ended up getting busted. So I definitely still have tough days. To be honest, it's been a while though, and like the reason being, I'll talk about a year ago from today. I was in a really dark spot in my sobriety. I had stopped working my program of recovery, my 12-step program, and my PTSD was like suffocating me at that time, and I wasn't getting help for it. So I had a really hard like 6 months about a year ago, and I really did it a lot to myself. Like I didn't reach out for help. I had a lot of pride come back and ego that I have 3.5 years sober, and that I don't want to tell somebody that I'm not okay because I have a 3.5 years sober and I should be good right now. And so I got in a really dark spot during that, and I'm so grateful that I had friends surrounding me that were calling me on my crap. And like that's a big thing for me, is that when I get in tough spots, is that I have the support system. I have so many girls that I can reach out to and that know me super, super well, that know when I'm sitting here saying, yep, I'm good, and they can see it in my eyes that I'm not, and they ask me and they call me on it. Like I have that network today, and that's such a huge part of it. And also like I've given them permission to call me on my stuff. I have like the utmost respect for the police, for law enforcement in general today. I mean, I want to get involved in it myself. You're in contact with people like me on a daily basis, and I think that like the way that I was treated, which I thought was good, I don't think it ever came out of my mouth that I was like, oh, Officer Morgan, blah, blah, blah. It was never that. I definitely realized that I put myself in that place at the time, but yeah, throughout the years, like, I don't know, I look at you guys and it's cool. Like I don't get nervous anymore when I have a police officer behind me. In fact, I kind of want to get pulled over because I've had really, really good talks with police officers over the years, especially when I was in drug court, because I would have to say I'm on probation, I'm in drug court, and then we'd have some cool conversations like, oh, like cool, or like I'm on my way to a meeting. Oh, what kind of meeting? You know, like we get to talk like that. So
this doesn't happen very often at all, and it's very refreshing, and I'm so good to see you. I'm so happy to see you're so healthy looking, and it's just gets me right there. And it makes you realize that I did the right thing. You were not disrespectful when I arrested you, and I think you were more confused, almost like you didn't understand why you were being arrested. It was like you just didn't understand it. And I'm at loss of words because of how happy I am to see how healthy you are. I have a coin here.
Oh, sweet.
I have like 5 minutes, and I've had them like for a year, and I've never given anybody.
Okay.
And I just feel like this is an appropriate moment.
Okay.
This is not for your drug use, not for getting arrested. It's for everything you did to better yourself since then. Okay, so I'd like to
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I don't know if you were here when I was talking about this, but like I would not be here if I didn't get arrested, if I didn't go through the criminal justice system, which is like what gives me my passion in giving back to the criminal justice system too, because it can have a real impact on people. It really, I mean, it did for me. Like I can't say I was scared straight because I wasn't, but it was to the point where like I got to a place where I had the chance and the opportunity to get better, and there was somebody that was believing in me out there. And so, like, you had an impact on that. Yeah, so during my sentencing, I got the opportunity to, if I completed all the stipulations with my sentencing guidelines, I guess, that I would have the opportunity to get my felonies expunged. And so that was super cool. In the moment, I didn't really realize how amazing that opportunity was until I got back into school, and I'm like, okay, I probably need to get these off my record. So that's like the best thing ever, is that, you know, and at the end of the day, even if I would have had them on my record, it still wouldn't have stopped me from getting my education and going back and doing what I love. But it is cool that I don't have to like jump through those hurdles anymore. Because like when somebody's labeled a felon, like you get looked at differently.
To hear her success, it's really, it's beneficial to me as much as it is to her to know that it was the right thing to do, and it wasn't just ruining her life. I was actually improving it for her. Because I only have the opportunity to make the arrest. Everything after that, I really don't get involved in. I don't have the opportunity to do those things. I'm the first notch, right? She has to get arrested, and in her case, it was clear she had to be arrested to get into the system. And I think that was a good thing that she got arrested. It's showing that it has, but a lot of that's her, and a lot of that's Megan. Megan has done the hard work to get where she is.